Let's spend a week in Iceland with the Nikon Z5 II, but first, we gotta fill it up with the Iceland. What? Let's not do that joke. It's the first day of my life. I was born right in the doorway. This song kind of sounds like that song, but I got this song from Artlist. They're not a sponsor of this video because they won't respond to my emails. Alright, here we are in Iceland. I'm gonna be showing you a bunch of unedited Z5 II clips. Everything is handheld. Everything is in a neutral color profile. And everything is at 8-bit 265, or it might be in H.2137 if you're in Poland. That joke goes out to my friend Magic specifically. Here we are in Reykjavik, and it's a bit weird. The volcanoes have been going off very, very close, within, I think, 500 meters of some of the houses over the past little bit. And the town is mostly abandoned, and it's a bit eerie to drive around because this is a town I've stayed in lots of times, and we drive through this road every single time we're in Iceland. So a bit strange. Earth trying to reclaim the gas station hot dogs. But shout out to the residents of Iceland for not just looting and going crazy whenever there's an abandoned town, because it makes it a lot more suitable for Grainy Days Jason's film photography YouTube channel when it's abandoned and clean with no graffiti and no smashed windows. Really cooking up something on the guitar in the background there, wow. I really respect Icelanders because they're a little bit crazy and super resilient. The fact that this has happened and some of the roads are completely covered, and then 2 days later they were like, you know what? We want that road back. Let's pave over it. Let's build that road again. It's kind of nice that the earth just gives them the material required to build a road, but the edges of the road are sometimes smoking and a little melty. And also, if you are from Iceland, don't at me. I know that this field here is an older field and it's not from the new volcano. I appreciate you being here with me on Masters Sunday. There's a lot of exciting things happening in slow motion on television, and you've chosen to be here watching my footage from a trip to Iceland. I have two lenses with me on this trip to Iceland. One is the 24mm f1.8 and one is the 40mm f2. They're both Z-mount and they are Nikon branded lenses. I also don't have any ND filters with me. I wanted to do mainly photography on this trip, but I still can't access the raw files in Lightroom yet. So for now, we're working with video. And when I don't have a proper ND filter, I try not to move the camera too much. So a lot of the shots you're gonna see are pretty static. And I essentially kind of compose a photo that I would take, and then I just let some sort of motion usually happen within it. I do the same for my weddings. I'm primarily a wedding and portrait photographer, done over 1,000 weddings all around the world. But in this video, there are 0 weddings, but many glaciers. Some might even call it nature's white dress is a glacier. I'm gonna have to workshop that joke. I feel like there's something there. Lindsay has with her a Nikon FM and currently Portra 400 in there, but you're not gonna see any of those photos in this video because we're here to watch the unedited footage from our trip to Iceland together. The Z5 II is an incredibly powerful video camera. It does raw video internally, which is crazy. It also does the footage that I'm recording here, which I feel like is a lot more sustainable. The only thing you have to be more conscious of is your white balances, and I guess exposures too. But my white balance, for the most part, is usually locked to shade. That is why things are maybe a little bit warmer than they should be and a little bit more sunsetty than real life. So you can either like that or you cannot like that. That's a choice that you can make on your own footage. I like that, so I make my things a little bit warmer. Let's talk about this trip, shall we, to this uplifting acoustic music. We are on our way to Glacier Lagoon, so that we landed at Keflavik Airport, which is on the west coast, west bottom coast, west south coast, and we are driving the southern coast about 5.5 hours, all of the way to a place called Glacier Lagoon, and there is a new hotel that is, I think, just opened. And we basically wanted to, the reason for going out there was to check out this hotel. I feel like a lot of our Icelandic adventures are guided by either hotels or Airbnbs. We typically just find a place we want to go see, and there's always something along the way that you can stop at. And some of it's listed, some of it you might have seen on Instagram, and some of it could be completely new and a surprise, which is nice. I'm also a big fan of getting to hotels and tourist areas a lot earlier, so you're the only ones there. And then in the evening time, when everyone comes to the hotel, at that point, we're gonna go out and we're gonna explore the actual Glacier Lagoon, not the glacier that you saw before, but a new glacier, or at least pieces of one that have rolled into the water. Got those nice dueling hot tubs and one of the nicest saunas you could ever encounter at a hotel. I don't know if it's lazy or if it's resourceful, but I like to just pick hotels and Airbnbs that I can photograph the northern lights easily from. I would rather do that than have to drive somewhere at potentially the middle of the night to go and photograph northern lights. So I'm a little bit lazy when it comes to that. I feel like for landscape photography too, if you're just in a nice location, it makes it just a lot easier for me to enjoy myself while also taking pictures. And also Lindsay doesn't want to be out on location, set up with tripods all the time. So that's my tip for you today. After a few minutes, our room was ready, and it was very large. One of the other reasons I like staying out in the middle of nowhere is because the rooms are typically a lot larger, and you can just do landscape photography from your room if you want. Like, look at how cinematic this window is. Maybe I gotta switch my shutter speed to something that doesn't conflict with the refresh rate on those bulbs, but after that, very cinematic. I guess there's also a pipe in the middle of the road there. Now it is time to experience the real Glacier Lagoon. You can also refer to it as the Galoon if you want. I have a piece of lens dust on there, and I'm trying to get my shutter speed to something reasonable, but unfortunately that means bringing my f-stop up to like f16 and putting that sensor dust on there. I blow it off soon, I promise. Another benefit of going to tourist locations a little bit closer to twilight is, one, the photographic opportunities I think are better, and two, there's just no one around, or at least the least amount of people you'll see at a super popular tourist location. Glacier Lagoon, I actually like it a lot. It's best to go, I would say, in the spring because the larger glaciers are breaking off and going out to sea, and when things get warmer. And then in November, a lot of them have just kind of melted, and they melt before they get to this part, so it's just not as exciting. So that's my tip for Glacier Lagoon. Also, Tim and I saw Wim Hof swimming here with seals once. That's a real thing that happened to us. We got a picture with him. And then it was time to head back to the hotel for dinner. The most fun part about Iceland is the fact that everything at restaurants is extraordinarily expensive, on par with Switzerland everywhere or Singapore around the Marina Bay Sands. Cost-saving tip: if you do come to Iceland and you don't want to spend a lot of money on food, you can go to the grocery store. It's still a little expensive, but it's kind of interesting that Iceland used to seem crazy expensive, and then as the cost of groceries and everything became more and more expensive in Canada and the States, I feel like it's kind of balancing out now, so it doesn't really seem that crazy. Back to icebergs. Lindsay on the 7200 for Nikon Z on a Z6 III. The main difference for me, at least, choosing between the Z5 II and the Z6 III comes down to, for me as a hybrid photo video creator, I like to be able to do 4K 60 uncrop for wedding days. So that is, I would say, the key part of decision making for me and why I go at least Z6 III for my professional first camera, but the Z5 II will be my second camera for this wedding season. We then hiked to a pretty cool waterfall. This is what it looks like. It's nice, right? And then rather than enlisting my services as photographer, Lindsay tripoded her phone and took pictures that way. Iceland is really interesting because there are both a variety of landscapes and also a variety of weather that on any day you might end up in 4 or 5 areas that look completely different. One might look like you're on the moon or Mars, and then you might be in a weird mossy forest, and then you might end up in a bunch of gas stations eating hot dogs over and over and over again. It's a bit weird. We're now heading back towards Vik on our way to the Silica Hotel at Blue Lagoon, which is a bit of a risk right now because there are a lot of volcanoes going off very close to it. Not right this moment, but 5 days ago, the hotel was evacuated for the night because the eruptions got a little too close. That's not the eruption, by the way. That is a light from our private Blue Lagoon. The eruptions are happening at least a 1 to 3 minute drive from our hotel here. We actually ended up canceling and rebooking because on April 1st, when the volcano went off, we canceled, but then it quickly kind of came to an end and the area around stabilized. So we were comfortable going back for the night, but it is a little nerve-wracking being on site here. I will now recite a poem to you about how everything in life is borrowed and this luxury hotel will at some point be reclaimed by the earth. This is the poem. This is my hour. I'm never going to bed. The sky is still black, but begs to be read. Okay, that's just a song by the Streets. People say Blue Lagoon is overrated, and they're probably right, but Blue Lagoon is still quite nice to visit. That's the new poem. It's actually kind of cool because, so if you are familiar with Iceland, Blue Lagoon was kind of the original big tourist lagoon, I would say, and now there's many, many others. And for a long time, Blue Lagoon, there was no response that these other lagoons are coming up, eating their lunch, and they were just like, we're the biggest, we don't care. And now, finally this year, when the entire property is under threat, they're like, now we're gonna make a cold plunge. The tourists are gonna love it. Why is this a country song? Let's put on something else. That's kind of the same. Whale Museum? Underrated. Lava Show? Well, it's like a 4.9 on Google, but it's still underrated. It's a very fun experience, and I definitely recommend it. Another recommended experience is renting a scooter on a nice day in Reykjavik and touring around. We didn't do that today, though. Came to the big city to get Lindsay a wool sweater. Pretty exciting stuff. I do recommend stopping by Reykjavik for maybe one of the days if you are in Iceland, but definitely don't spend multiple nights here unless you have a specific reason to do so. A reason might be a Sigur Rós concert or Lauvi playing at Harpa. Otherwise, I recommend exploring the wilderness and finding an Airbnb with a gigantic kitchen like this one out in the middle of nowhere. It's a really nice time here in Iceland. Thanks for joining me. Any questions you have about the Nikon Z5 II, feel free to put them down below. If you're considering this camera, you're going to be really happy with this camera. It is an incredible offering at an even more incredible price point. If you want to see my talk versus the Z6 III and which one I would recommend, it's there floating on the screen. See you next time.